What's up, Monday Morning Jumpstart? This is your place to be. If you're looking for focus, purpose, and perspective on a Monday morning, this is your Jumpstart. Come on in here. We have an amazing show for you. I am so excited about our lineup today. Y'all ain't ready for today. What's up, Coach Marguerite Presley Davis and Coach Lawrence Henderson? Welcome to Monday Morning Jumpstart.
What's up, everybody? Good morning.
Hey, what's up? I am hoping that Pastor Andy Smith is going to be joining us. We'll see. So, Pastor Andy, if you're listening, I need y'all to come on in here when you can. This is Monday Morning Jumpstart, everybody. My name is Coach Karen Hilton. I am the founder and chief vision caster for TAP Executive Coaching and the Rock Your Vision Masterclass community. This is your place. We absolutely love to get your week started. And you know what? We are really going to fire you up this morning. We are so excited to have our special guest. We are talking about partners and partnership because this month, the month of February, we are focusing on loving on our entrepreneurs. That's right. If you are an entrepreneur, maybe you've been thinking about entrepreneurship, maybe you've got something in the back of your mind for whatever's coming down the road for you, come on in here. We got a lot to talk about. I am so excited to share with you our amazing guest, Coach Marguerite Presley Davis. What's going on, Coach Marguerite?
Hi, Karen. Always excited to be here. There's no better way with your energy to start a Monday morning.
You know what? My family is like, every Monday, they're like, can you tone it down?
Never, Karen. Never tone it down.
I can't. I just can't help myself. Anyway, we are super excited to have you here. We know you've got a lot going on and a lot to share with us. So I am super excited about that. But I want to introduce you to Professor Lawrence Henderson. What's up, Coach Lawrence?
Hey, what's going on, community? What's going on, Karen and Marguerite? Such a pleasure this morning.
We are so glad to have you in here. Okay, Coach Lawrence, we know that we were talking about it earlier about Pastor Andy, but we also know that your people have people. And so here's what I really want to know. You had some big things going on last week. Can you just give us a little skinny on what you had going on last week?
Yeah, so last week was a big week for Boss. Well, and specifically Professor Henderson. So last week, I had the honor to kick off as an adjunct professor at Morehouse College. And the leadership and professional development, and so that's my bag, that's my jam, and the fact that I get to do it with the awesome men of Morehouse is such a profound blessing.
Yes.
That's huge. Congratulations.
Just come on. I need you to pop some emojis and some fire and all like that, because that's just a big deal. First of all, the opportunity, the way it came about, one of these days we're going to have you back on so you can kind of break that down when we talk about blessing and calling and standing in your purpose. This guy right here epitomizes that. And I just love this testimony of you being officially called to teach, preach, motivate, inspire. Okay, that's in your job description somewhere. At Morehouse College. Just an incredible blessing. So we're glad to have you. Thank you for choosing to spend your morning with us.
It's my absolute pleasure. And guess what? Part of that story has something to do with what we're talking about today. So it'll come out.
Okay. I can't wait to get into this. Listen, you know how we do it. If you have a little special way that you start the morning, whatever it is, your coffee, your tea, your kombucha, whatever it is, I need you to grab that. And then I need you to tell 10 of your friends, okay? Spread the word, start a watch party, drop a DM or a text, and tell people to come on in here. Listen, Coach Marguerite Presley Davis, I'm going to get that, is here with us this morning. And she is going to drop the wisdom when it comes to partnership. And I'm going to give you a little bit of backdrop on why we got to that. But before we do that, come on, I'm going to need you to drop in to our community right here. Come on, if you're watching us, if you're ghosting us, I'm going to need you to press that video and go on in here and pop in. If you're watching us on YouTube, good morning, YouTube. Glad to have you. Listen, go ahead and subscribe. We don't want you to miss any of this in the future because we've got 2021 already locked and loaded. I am super excited. Okay, Beverly Wilkes, what's going on, boo? I want y'all to know Beverly is one of our alums. She is one of our ambassadors. She's an amazing woman, and we love her. It's so good to see you in here. And then her sister, her twin, is Christy Kent. Come on. Christy, we are super excited to have you this morning. Good morning, sweetheart. And Vanessa Aliaga. If you've not met Vanessa, Vanessa is our operations manager. She is the reason I even know to show up on Monday mornings. So Vanessa, here you are. Good morning. Good to see you in here. Okay, let's see. Who else do we have in here? We know we've got some folks coming in, so we're excited about that. But let's talk about it, okay? We're talking about entrepreneurial vision in February. And why are we talking about that? Because here's what we know. We've got folks in our community who are professionals. They're out there in the corporate world. They're in the business world, right, Lawrence? You know some of these people. You work with some of these leaders on a regular basis, right? We've got some of those folks. But we also have folks who are building businesses or who have built businesses or who are thinking about building businesses, right? And we want you guys to understand that rocking your vision isn't just about having a good idea, right? It's not just about having that fire in your belly or going back to what you used to dream about when you were a kid. There is something powerful about having not just vision, but a strategy for your vision. And I'm going to be honest with you. When I got started in business, when I got started specifically in building my own business, I was excited and like I was pulling things out of my head, my heart. But I got to a place where I was like, I don't know, like, maybe there are things I don't know. Maybe there are people I don't have in my network. You know, I don't have all that money. I didn't know where to get started. But even when I did get started, then I had a little bit of what we call imposter syndrome. Anybody know anything about that? Coach Lawrence, imposter syndrome, anybody? Coach Marguerite, imposter syndrome, anybody, right? And what does imposter syndrome make you tell about yourself? Coach Lawrence, what is when you experience imposter syndrome, what did it say to you about starting or building a business?
Yeah, it'll start storytelling for you that you don't know anybody who does it, so why do you think you can? You were you really that good at your last thing? Why do you want to start this thing? And so mine starts storytelling, and now that I've checked it several times, I know it to be this whiny little nasally thing that's actually annoying. But it's been there so long, and I've allowed it to take up residence that it'll creep up from time to time, and it's always happening in transition or new levels or new experiences, and even introducing myself back to things I haven't totally conquered, but it'll creep in and say, you haven't mastered it yet, little guy, so why would you try?
Wow.
And, yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so my imposter syndrome says, you remember what happened the last time you had a bright idea. Coach Marguerite, how about you? When you were building a business, going out on your own, like you're this major rock star. We're going to talk about that in a minute. But have you ever struggled with imposter syndrome? And if you did, what did your imposter syndrome say to you about starting a business?
Oh yeah, no, I get it all the time still. And it is, for me, it mainly shows up in an area that Coach Lawrence mentioned, it's when I'm leveling up, when I'm doing something different. Because for me, if I'm not feeling it, I almost feel like I'm not pushing myself hard enough, because I'm in that place where I'm like, oh, I got this. Oh, like I'm comfortable. But then it shows up when you're trying to go to the levels that you want, and you are finally at that stage where you're like, I've always looked up to this person, but we're doing this together. You're like, well, am I good enough? Did they make a mistake when they reached out to me? And you start questioning, was it a mistake? And that is like the best way to say, whoa. Like that imposter syndrome is showing up major right now.
Come on. Okay. Did they make a mistake? Right? Mm-hmm. Or did I make a mistake? That's one right there, right? Because if it's you made a mistake, then it shuts you down in terms of how you show up in whatever it is you're trying to do. and it keeps you from digging deep or starting anything afresh. I just need somebody to give me an amen, because that right there, Coach Marguerite, was like, for real, for real. That is absolutely, I think everybody in this community knows what that feels like, right? Like, oh my goodness, is there any possible way that I could step out into this new space, right? Or maybe it's not a new space, but maybe you're just trying it a little bit different, right? Like Coach Lawrence, you've always been doing speaking and teaching and things like that, but now you're going into academia, right?
Yep.
Like, talk to me about that space and that place, Coach Marguerite, where you step into something new, because that's a big thing for our community.
Yeah, it's one of those situations where you talk about academia again. It was, can I even be here? And like you said, new level, but there are some same devils that show up. And it was like, I feel like I have this pull, I have this thing that's happening for me. And you mentioned it, it's just like, I know this is my bag, but something is there for me. And it wasn't until I was like, okay, I'm gonna play it small, and I'm gonna reach out to this person and maybe they'll give me a shot. Let me ride their coattails for a little while I learn the ropes, if you will. And then it was other little things, but those opportunities fell through. And it was until I got in alignment with seeing myself correctly. And that was really the catalyst that really propelled me forward. But I know Coach Marguerite, she's about to hit us with a banger on this one.
Come on.
Yes. No, and I love that, Coach Lawrence, too, because it's like when I think about starting my new business or, anything that I do, launching anything, I think that it's important to understand, though, when it is imposter syndrome and when it is being prepared and cautious. And those are two different things.
Come on.
It's one thing to say, I don't know if I'm good enough for this. I don't know if I'm ready for this. But also, it is okay to say, okay, this is something new that I haven't done before. Let me get prepared. Let me understand what I don't know. Let me understand what I do need to do to show up and give the best value to my community. And that voice you don't want to silence, right? Because there's one thing to show up and say that you are. Like, I strongly believe that there's something that you're passionate about and you want to do and it's on your heart. It's there for a reason. But just because it's there on your heart, it doesn't necessarily mean that there's not the preparation you still need to do, that you need to make sure that you're showing up and you're going to knock it out of the park. And we know the differences in those voices. One's like the little scared voice. It's like, oh, Marguerite, like, I don't know, can you do it? And the other one's like, okay, you got it, but make sure you do X, Y, Z.
Yeah, come on. You got to know the difference, right? There is so much in what you just said. But Coach Marguerite, what I'm really interested in about, what I really think, I want the community to know your background. Like we know you, but we want to reintroduce you in 2021. So for those that don't know you, or maybe those that are getting to know you again, talk to us a little bit about how you got to here. So you are a financial strategist and business coach to the likes of people like me. And then you got like the governor and you got like the celebrity thing going on. Like, I mean, my people had to call your people for real. But, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got to here.
Yeah, I'd love to. So I actually started out my career on Wall Street as a financial analyst. So it's funny, and this goes back to always knowing what the vision is. So I grew up in a small town, Cary, North Carolina, where no one was going to Wall Street, right? Like, right. A huge research place. You go, you do medicine, the whole nine. But for me, I always knew I wanted to go into finance, and that path for me, I knew was going to be Wall Street. So started off there doing commercial real estate, private equity investments, the whole nine, and loved every second of it. But I was doing the grunt work then, right? Understanding how to value investments. We had about a $2 billion portfolio. So had a lot to learn around why you're investing something, what makes it a lucrative investment. But ultimately for me, I saw that as my training ground, and I soaked in everything there was to learn. And not to date myself, but the recession of the 2006 timeframe, it was not the time to be in commercial real estate. It was not the time to be investing in private equity. So while I survived the layoffs, the whole nine, it was my first realization that I wanted to be working with companies before they went downhill, before they had to close their doors. And the way I saw to do that was to transition from being a financial analyst to ultimately being a consultant, working right there with the CEOs, the CFOs, the whole nine. So I actually transitioned to become a consultant I went to B school at NYU and had this incredible opportunity to work with the Clinton Foundation. And that was my first opportunity to see what it meant to work with small businesses. Worked on the economic stimulation there of underserved areas, and the way you do that, stimulate the economies through stimulating the businesses. So really fell in love there, and kind of fast forward along, went into mergers and acquisitions consulting. So how do companies grow, scale, buying them, acquiring them, divesting them, the whole nine. Worked all over the world, used to work in Ireland for a bit, Mexico, Amsterdam, loved it, but got burnt out being on the road Monday through Thursday every single week. And really wanted to try out for myself what it meant to be implementing everything I had learned, growing businesses, scaling businesses, a whole nine, selling, buying. So I started my own startup, and it was incredible. Implemented everything that I was doing for everyone else, but for myself. After about 4 or 5 years of doing that, exited that business successfully, which was nice. And then it was like, well, what's next? So what's next is I missed the consulting end of things, working directly with the companies. So transitioned to opening my own agency. And that's where I am now, helping other businesses to grow, scale, be more profitable, teach entrepreneurship.
Come on, y'all. That took a minute, because as young and like new to this as she may seem, this woman is a veteran, of Wall Street, and she somehow makes time to hang out with the likes of us. Not really sure what that's about, but
my love for you, Karen, because you guys all know in the community how amazing Karen is. There's not much we can ever say no to.
Don't tell her, because maybe she'll figure it out. But we're so glad you're here, because the honest truth is that, Coach Marguerite, we have a community of, leaders, right? It doesn't matter what they're doing. We've seen people who, started as junior associates in whatever it was they were doing, and then they left those roles in the time that we've been around for about 7 years, and using what they learned in this community have really built up their own vision and their own businesses and things like that. But Coach Margaret, I want to go back to something that you said about you started a business, right? You decided you wanted to leave kind of the corporate grind. You started a business and you successfully exited. Now, I have 2 questions. When you built that business over 4 to 5 years, did you have a partner? And if not, why not? And then what does it actually mean to successfully exit? Like, give us a high-level overview of what that means and why our community should care about it.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll answer the first question first around, did I have a partner, and like why or why not? I had a partner who probably unintentionally signed up to be a partner, and that was my husband. But no, it was a solo endeavor there, because ultimately I did it for a very specific reason. One, I wanted to prove that I could do exactly what I had been doing for others for over a decade for actually myself, because for me, and there's different pathways, I knew that I had a plethora of knowledge that I had gained over the years, but there's a difference when you're transitioning from corporate to implementation in a startup role. Those are actually, they look a bit different. So I wanted to make sure that I was actually able to do it more of in a startup space. But then secondly, I started off actually wanting a partner. It didn't work out because when you go through a partnership, one of the first things you have to land on is expectations. And we never got it off of the ground as far as aligned expectations. So that's kind of what happened, why I didn't end up having a partner. It ended up, working out fine. I think had I had a partner, there were some areas in the business that I would have been able to perhaps accelerate a little bit faster. But that was the decision there. So to answer your other question, what it means to successfully exit is when I started the business, I had the decision already that I knew that I would ultimately not always be the one who was operating the company at the end of the day. I knew that my company was not my end all be all of my entrepreneurial journey. So I knew that I would ultimately take myself out of the CEO leadership position. Okay. So what happens when you exit is ultimately I no longer run the company day to day. I still sit on the board. I'm still able to impact the decisions to be made, but I no longer have a majority stake in the company that I built anymore. So I exited in the sense that I sold piece of the equity, majority of the equity, no longer the majority holder, but still sit on the board. And it depends on how you structure your deal. A lot of times if you exit, the person who's buying is going to want you to sit on the board because you've had the knowledge over the past years for a certain period of time. And that's the case for me. So still sit on, still influence, but no longer have majority of the company to operate it day to day.
Well, first of all, y'all give it up for Coach Marguerite, because that's a thing, right? We start businesses, and I think oftentimes, Coach Lawrence, entrepreneurs, they start and they're like, I'm gonna start my own business. I'm gonna be a millionaire, and I'm gonna sit on, I'm gonna sit in the French Riviera, or whatever vision we have for ourselves as entrepreneurs. But the reality is that being an entrepreneur is not for the faint of heart, right? Elon Musk will tell you that. Bill Gates will tell you that. All of the people that we read about will tell you that being an entrepreneur is not for the faint of heart. But I love this idea, Coach Marguerite, that when you started your business, you knew somewhere down the road that was not going to be the be all and the end all. And true story, y'all need to write this down, okay? Because oftentimes we think of things in a box. We think this is going to be it, and that's it. But I love the fact that at such a young age, you already knew, like, I'm going to try this, and then I'm going to sell it. I'm going to build it. I'm going to run it, right, so that I can sell it. I'm going to let that thing go, and then I'm going to move on to something different. So for those of you that are kind of, stuck in your own stuff, thinking that, oh my gosh, I'm never going to get out of this, I just want you to know that there's a path to do that. Many of you know that Coach Marguerite is my business coach, and we have some pretty aggressive goals in 2021. But it's been a journey and a process, right? It's been a journey and a process. But I want to go back to this whole concept of having a partner versus a partnership, right? Because you said your husband was your partner. Bless his soul. Okay, bless his heart.
Unintended one. He didn't know what he was signing up for.
Oh my gosh, I absolutely love that. But the idea that he came alongside you to do some things, but what we really want to talk about, we want to kind of set it up, right? Because part of what I want this community to learn is the difference between a partner and a partnership, right? That was one of the big aha moments for me as an entrepreneur. I did not trust myself. I didn't trust the vision that God had given me. And so here I was trying to do all the things. And then I hit a ceiling, right? Where that imposter syndrome would wake up with me in the morning and be like, come on, you need to get up, because, your struggle bus is waiting for you. You're about to miss the struggle bus. Maybe I'm just all by myself. But that was a mindset that I had that, you know what, I can't trust myself. There's got to be somebody who knows more than me. There's got to be somebody who, this vision that I have of doing things a certain way. And I'll say this one more thing, and then I want to get into this kind of difference between a partner and a partnership. But I actually went to a business mentoring program. And early on, some of y'all have heard this story. I went and, did my presentation. I'm like, here's my idea. I was dressed to the nines. I had my PowerPoint, and I handed out little booklets I got made at Kinko's. Y'all remember Kinko's? I had all the things. And I shared with them my idea, and they just kind of listened. Okay. And then they took a breath, and one of the guys said, you know what? That's the most convoluted idea I've ever heard. That's business mentoring at its finest. I mean, not like, hey, here are the things to do or whatever. But I think I could have walked out of there and can anybody talk to us for a minute? Have you ever had that experience where you had an idea or a vision, or maybe you're in the midst of the business and then something comes along at you and goes, boom, right? That's what it was for me, Coach Marguerite. Hearing that I almost stepped away from what we see today, 2 businesses later, right? Where I was hearing from somebody who didn't get the vision to begin with. Come on. It wasn't their vision to begin with, Coach Marguerite.
Oh, yes. I have to share something based on what you just said, Karen, because that resonated a ton. And it's a funny story. So I actually was on Shark Tank, and we did pitch to the Sharks. And this was for the company that I ended up exiting.
Hold on a minute. I'm sorry. I know this is rude, but wait a minute. Say that one more again. You were where?
I was on Shark Tank. And it was so funny because the episode, it was Mr. Wonderful says to me, and the episode never ended up airing. Like, apparently they overfilmed or something like that, and it didn't make the filming. But Mr. Wonderful says to me, shut it down. That's verbatim what he said to me. And I was like, when I exited, I was thinking, what if I had listened to Mr. Wonderful?
What if I had listened to Mr. Wonderful? Shame on you, Mr. Wonderful.
Shut it down. What if I had listened to him?
What if you had listened? Okay, y'all. I'm trying not to get off topic, I promise. But there's something here. This idea that a guy who the world knows is a business expert, bought and sold businesses left and right, said to this woman right here, who has bought and sold, advised, behemoth organizations, successfully exited from her own company, is leaned on by some of the world's leading leaders and experts today, said to her, shut it down. How many of you are listening to people who do not hold the vision? Y'all need to hear me. How many of you have a vision in your heart, a fire, something that's calling you, something that disrupts your sleep, that wakes you up in the night, and you're waiting on somebody else to confirm the vision God has given you? It's one thing if you have that spirit of caution that says you need to learn more, or you need to prepare, or you need to get quiet or silent to be able to set yourself up to do the next thing that you're called to do. Lawrence, I'm about to preach. I'm going to try not to, but anyway, Coach Marguerite, please go ahead, because I've got a whole nother thing happening over here. Okay, go ahead.
No, it's just one of the things, Karen, that I hear you speak about a lot is clarity on that vision, that road ahead, that path ahead, right? So that's your vision. That's what you see. And just because someone else can't see it, it doesn't mean that anything is wrong with your vision, right? Your responsibility isn't to get someone on board with your vision. It's yours, right? And one of the things, Karen, that you coach on is going for that vision, charting that path on that vision. So as long as you're in the driver's seat, someone else isn't, right? So if Mr. Wonderful's saying, shut it down, well, all of a sudden, how much do I believe in my vision? If I'm like, yeah, he's right, let me do it. You know?
Come on.
Yeah. So I got it's, to me, like, that story is the total going to the basketball court to play with somebody else's ball and not bringing your own. And you got your own ball. Like you can go ahead and leave if you want to, but I got my own ball. I'm gonna play. I'm gonna still play this game. And so for us as entrepreneurs, like, and I love your story, Coach Marguerite. And I just want to point something out, y'all. Like, big game. Like, you a big game player. Like, the fact that you talk about you got equity, you sold equity and you still have a piece of it. You didn't sell the whole thing. Like pick up what she put down, y'all. Like, she still is making a bag somewhere else and while she's working on something else. So I don't know if y'all picked that up, but I just want to throw that out there. But when you talk about with entrepreneurs and you talking about partner and partnership, it really, for me, it comes down to the mindset of trying not to be in competition with others, but also seeing an opportunity to upskill with someone else as a tandem. And so when you think about it, it's like, it's not competition, it's collaboration. And somebody else put it to me like this: is cooperation. You need a partner that both of y'all are actually at your A game, but because you love each other so much and you love the vision so much, you're always upskilling. Yeah. You're always leveling up anytime that you bring somebody else into the equation. Yeah. Your husband couldn't be a proper partner in the business if he wasn't already an A player like you. You wouldn't even have thought about it. You wouldn't have brought him into the room to even have a conversation. And so being equally yoked with those that are supposed to be a part of your mission is a thing. And so making sure that you're being mindful of who you're allowing to pour into you, whose words matter most in your life. And again, so you can see yourself correctly, so you can beat back that little whiny voice or that little thing that's telling you can't do it, because you were playing big early. And you got exposed and you got access to knowledge. But guess what? You filled in that gap with some doing. You filled in the gap with some taking a step. And I always tell people my favorite movie now is Creed 1, where he talks about one step at a time, one punch at a time, one round at a time. This is what entrepreneurship is. If you take yourself out of the fight, if you take yourself out of the game, you never, what's that thing say behind me? You miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
Come on.
That's what it is. And so you got, man, y'all better pick this up. Y'all better
you better pick it up. I'm telling you. Okay, Coach Marguerite. I'm going to try to get centered here, because there is something powerful once you realize what you have. All right. And let me be clear. Just because you're struggling, or just because you're exhausted, or just because maybe you're trying to scale and you're in overwhelm, or just because you don't know the next steps, doesn't mean it's time to shut it down. And it does not mean that it's time to give it away. Hear me, right? But here's what happened to me. The whole reason we're talking about this is because I got to that place where I felt like I'd reached a ceiling. Every one of you in here will get to a place where you feel like you've reached your ceiling, right? Your business will grow, your congregation will grow, you'll hit a roadblock, you'll see something that scares you, and automatically you can go into that place where you're like, oh, hold on a second, maybe I should give it away. Or maybe I should go work for somebody else because I don't know what I'm doing. But here's the thing that I'm just asking you to consider. That there might be opportunities. Coach Lawrence dropped it like it was hot. Okay, there may be opportunity for you to bring your A game with somebody else's A game. But in order to do that, y'all listen to me this morning. The opportunity may be first for you to get clear. You got to get clear before you can collaborate. Okay. Now you may have to brainstorm a little bit like this. But let me just be real clear with you, Coach Marguerite. I as much as I love working with Coach Marguerite, I got to bring my A game to her A game before she can know how to help me. I mean, come on. Am I right, Coach Marguerite?
Absolutely. Spot on. And Coach Lawrence, like spot on what you were saying as well. Because I think that there's two things, that I think tie together what you've just both spoken on. And I don't know where it comes from, but my mom has said this to me from as long as I can remember. And she would always say it to me as it related to my friend groups and my friend choices and when friends would come and go. And she'd always say to me, Marguerite, people are in your life for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. Okay. No idea if I don't think she made it. I don't know where she got it from, but it stuck with me is the point, right? And I apply that to business when I'm thinking about, is it a partner or is it a partnership? You have to understand where it fits into that. Is it a specific reason? You just need it for that season, or is it something you need, for life, right? And so when you think about, like, there can be this transition too, where I always say, start with the partner before you ever start with a partnership. And here's what I mean. You can be a partner with someone and never, ever have any formal agreement as far as a partnership, but I can be your partner by championing you on. I can be a partner by using your services and knowing that they're great. I'm partnering with you. Now, we don't have a partnership, but one thing that's actually dangerous is when you jump to a partnership before you've ever established that this person is a partner. They have good character. They have shared core values with you, right? As Coach Lawrence put it, they're equally as yoked, right? That is what you want in a partner. So if you go into a partnership without those things, it's a little bit challenging. And I'll tell you that, I was telling you about a prior period of my life when I was doing mergers and acquisitions. We'll still do mergers and acquisitions now, but in a different way. But ultimately, yes, these companies are merging, you're acquiring another. All those are just types of partnerships. But I also want to tell you what we also do a lot is breaking up those partnerships. Okay. So the breaking up of them happens just as much. And usually I can just say within my vast experience with this, it goes back to, were you actually a partner before you move to a partnership?
Wow.
So understand, test the waters. I always compare it to dating. Sometimes you jump right into marriage and you didn't spend the adequate time dating, right? So think of a partner as, let's date first. Let's get to know each other. Let's make sure it's going to fit before we jump into marriage, which is the actual partnership.
Wow. Did y'all catch any of that? Because I don't know about you, but that wisdom right there, understanding the difference between a partner and a partnership will radically transform your energy, your vision, your next steps. I don't know if y'all got that, because for me, I can tell you one of the most costly business decisions I made. I guess this was now, Marguerite, 2 years ago. I was coming out of the commitment that I made. And y'all know I'm super extra, right? So when I go all in. All right. And so I was like, no, we don't have to date, boo. I love you. I'm committed. And I went straight to partnership, had no idea what I was doing, but I said yes to the suggestion. It was brought to me. And true story, I've had probably 4 serious courtings, okay, in the time that I've been in private practice, where somebody came to me and said, we love what you're doing. Oh my gosh, it's so fabulous. Like, we want to collaborate. Okay. And it was like, I was like, oh, me? Really? Little me? You want my ideas and my process and me? They're like, yeah, like, we've got this big brand and this big name and this all, like, we got the connections, we got all of that. And so this one I'm telling you about, I said yes. I said yes in a moment of, they were in crisis. Hear what I'm saying. They were in crisis. I wasn't in crisis, y'all. Okay. But I felt sorry. So I said yes. On the back end of that, when the smoke cleared And they came back to me, and from a financial perspective, I hadn't gotten clear about the details. And they were like, oh, so this is, you wrote me a check for this, but this is actually what it's supposed to be, incrementally bigger than what I was ready to swallow. And when I went back and I looked at it, I had Marguerite look at it. I had my attorney look at it. They were like, you're on the hook for that. You're on the hook for that. And y'all, I cried for probably a month. I'm serious. I sat in some of my coaching sessions with Coach Marguerite mad at myself. You need to understand the difference between partner and partnership. You need to understand that it is okay. It is okay to not go, neck deep with that person or that boo that is saying they want to come along with you. And true story, the person that you've been begging to come along with you that isn't doing the work or isn't committed or isn't showing up or said no to you, that is a blessing in disguise. I'm going to need you to keep it moving with whatever your vision is. The difference between a partner and a partnership. So here's my question. Is partnership a path for you, or is it your prison? It's just a question. Is it a path for you, or is it a prison? You say, well, Karen, I don't really know how to evaluate the difference between a partner and a partnership. I no longer make business decisions. I'm not allowed to sign on the dotted line until I meet with Coach Marguerite. I registered for a session for her, and in 2021, I'll be meeting with her once a month. Why? Because I'm serious. I'm not playing. Y'all think I'm playing, but I'm not playing in 2021. Whatever life brings, you need somebody who has that superpower that you don't have. If you're not a business strategist, if you haven't done it, right, you need to be with somebody who has done it. Coach Marguerite, I want you to talk a little bit about, now I want you to answer this question. Every relationship, every business relationship that you've gone in together, either partner or partnership, has been beautiful and seamless, and unicorns were involved, and a red carpet where you got along, and now you're besties. Everything that you've done has turned to gold, right?
Oh, Karen, I wish that was the case. I wish that was my story.
I would need you to tell it.
But I will say that in the past 16 years, I have genuinely only had one bad deal of a partnership, which is, really, really glad about it. But I tell you guys, it only takes one. You don't need a whole happen. But I want to touch on something, and I'm going to go in and I'm going to share a story with you all to illustrate the point of the importance. But Karen, you mentioned earlier, you said, okay, so I, will have a session with Marguerite. We'll talk about the deal because I haven't done deal structures before, right? That's something that just happens to be one of my superpowers. You have like more superpowers than I can even count, Karen. But I think what you said that's so important is knowing what is not your superpower. And that is where you start to think about, is this a path for a partner or a partnership? Because I think it's important to know where to identify where that could play a role. And that's typically the starting point. What is not your superpower, but what is going to be a critical success factor to whatever it is that you're doing. Okay. So I think that identifying, but then the second is, so the worst partnership that I ever made was where I made the fatal mistake that I just told you all not to do, is I jumped to partnership before I had a partner. Wow. I skipped the dating phase. Okay. Mm-hmm. So I was full blown into this partnership before I was even dating, right? Because it was something that I'm going to call it the shiny object syndrome. It's something that I was so interested in. It was something that I was passionate about. The woman seemed to be in distress, and I knew I could. And if anyone knows me, I will give as much as I can and probably exhaust myself to not sleeping, because I sometimes adopt that you're in distress, let me help. Yeah. And I saw that was an area I was excited to go into, and I went against my own rule. I skipped the dating. I didn't try it out with testing out our ability to work together. I didn't know a lot about who she was. And I learned things after, guess what? Already had signed
on the dotted line. Wow.
So if you can take anything away from this session, is never go into a partnership without first making that person or determining if that person is a partner. Because ultimately, I got, we won't go into the details, but it was awful. Awful. Lost tons of money, lost tons of sleep, the whole nine, because there are bad deals that don't only have a monetary effect on you. But had I done the stage of identifying the red flags that were there along the way in business, never ignore the red flags. In business, never go into a partnership before you have researched that person. Okay? Research that person. See who they are. See what they've done before you ever sign on a dotted line, right? And I'd say the other big takeaway from that as well is whenever you are considering a partnership, get referrals. Ask people who have done business with this person. Because if I had just done that, I would have run so fast away. But my excitement for doing that was always on my vision board overtook my I went against my own rules, right? So always have a criteria. I'm going to do these 5 things before I ever sign on a dotted line when it comes to a partner. And if you just stick to those, you'll be fine.
Oh my goodness. Like,
I want to jump. Okay, can I jump in there?
I don't know.
Lord. So she just fast forward somebody about 8 years of support. And it's funny, everything you were dropping were so many of the things I was thankful for that I was able to observe when I was still an Army officer in contracting command. And the things that you're talking about of partnerships and around contract language and different things like that, and knowing what your superpower is and isn't, and all those different things, like it saved me so much relational heartache, because there's emotional equity when it's your thing. And when you're expending that type of emotional equity immediately into a relationship, and when it goes bad, like Karen said, you go down hard and fast. And one of the things that really jumped out at me is, and Coach Akaila's in the room, she's probably gonna crack up laughing, and she probably don't even remember saying this to me, was about relationships. And when I first transitioned out of the Army, and my wife, my partner, she bust me in the head early when I got out. She said, "You friend too hard." And I was like, whatever. I friend how I friend, but it goes to the reason, seasons, lifetime thing, particularly around business. And it was like, if you go into these relationships assuming before you actually understand people's capacity, you could wind up in a world of hurt. And Coach Akaila, my first year out, she was saying about it takes several years to really develop relationship with people. And this was just in the context of networking. Before I even say your name out loud, I got to build a relationship with you. And that was just relationally. And so now we're talking money. We're talking dollars. And I just it takes time. Like there's got to be some type of exchange. I have to know if you fit, I fit, if we look good together or not. It's that whole dating thing. Like we got to know. But I thank you so much for dropping those nuggets, because I'm telling you, I got knots all over the place. That's why I grow in my beard and my hair, so I can hide them scars.
Okay. Oh my gosh, that is so, y'all are just wearing me out. Okay. We have so much goodness right now going on. I hope y'all are watching this. It's not too late to share. So share it with your network, start a watch party. Let somebody know that we're dropping the nuggets today with Coach Marguerite Presley Davis. But I am so, Pastor Andy said something, this just absolutely rang with me. So here's a way to look at it. Partnership is to marriage what partnering is to friendship. You don't have to be on the struggle bus, right? And here's the thing, we say it in this community all the time, you have options. You may think because you've come up against a wall or you don't know the answer or whatever, I need you to get out of that limiting belief that, you know, that it's not your season, or it's not your time, or it's time to give it up, or whatever. And it's okay if it's time to give it up. Just make sure that you know what your source is, right? If God said to me today, if the Lord said to me today, Karen, it's time for you to go and do something else, then I'm going to do that. In fact, recently I had something happen to me where I was trying to assess if God was pulling me in a different direction away from what I have today. I'm just going to be honest about that. Okay. Y'all need to know. But I was trying to assess it. But here's the thing. If you had talked to me 5 years ago, I would have just said yes and sold the farm and been out of it. But this time, I used my filters, right? Now I still stepped out. Y'all. I was like, okay, maybe I need to get in the car with this thing. Okay, maybe this is a good date. But I said, hold on a minute, before I fully get in the car, I need to ask some questions. Where are we going? What kind of folks are you usually spending time around? Tell me a little bit about your family, right? What does life look like when things don't go well for you? Like, these are all the things that you would ask somebody, like if you've grown, only if you've grown. Okay, this is for the grown folk. If you've grown, these are the kind of questions that you ask before you walk down the aisle with somebody. Because, you know, you look at it when things are rosy and happy and woo, everything's great. But on the back end, when things are falling apart, or when a contract falls through, or when somebody gets sick or whatever, will they show up? I'm gonna keep it straight with you this morning. I've been sick all week, and I don't mean sick like, I mean sick like I'm dehydrated sick. And your girl showed up this morning. Why? Because it's way bigger than me. Okay, it's way bigger than me. You need to understand who you are going into relationship with. So however you structure it, right? However you structure it is up to you, but you're still going into relationship, because whether you're partnering or whether you're going into a partnership, some of that stuff is coming off on you, right? Their spirit is attaching to you. Their brand is attaching to you. Y'all gonna get this in a minute. Okay, Pastor Andy Smith talks about this all the time. He uses the example that, you know, you'll go to a cookout. Pastor Andy, I wish you were in here. I really do, because I know you could light this up. But you could go to a cookout or a bonfire, right? Everybody's there having a good time, and you go home and you think you're slipping in the house, but Mama says, "Where you been? Where you been?" Here's the question for the folks that you are partnering with, or you're in partnership with. Where you been? Are the people that you are yoking with, are they getting you to the next level, or are they keeping you in prison? It's just a question, y'all. Anyway, I'm just gonna stop while it's hot. But Coach Marguerite, we have a few minutes left, and I just want to give you an opportunity to talk a little bit about how you help your clients, because people in this community need you. I have said this over and over and again, and some of y'all know Coach Marguerite really, really well, but I really want to understand, like, as you kind of work one-on-one with entrepreneurs, talk to us about kind of maybe the 2 or 3 things that what your superpower, the thing that you really help people level up in.
Yeah. So I'm going to actually even narrow down to say one main thing that I help people level up in, and as it pertains to entrepreneurship, is my number one focus is on helping to close the generational wealth gap. That is my main focus.
Wow.
How I do that is I focus on profitable entrepreneurship as the key pillar. Not entrepreneurship. Notice I said profitable entrepreneurship. So everything that I do is around helping business owners to grow, scale, build profitable businesses. And the way that I do that is by focusing on helping them to understand their numbers from a CEO perspective. I'm not talking about being a bookkeeper, being debits and credits, because all those things are important. But there's certain things as a business owner, no matter how good or bad you tell me that you are with numbers, money, or finance, that you have to know to run a profitable business. So everything that I do is helping CEOs to master the side of running a business from a CEO's viewpoint.
Wow. Wow. Okay. So not just entrepreneurship, right? Because we all know people who've been on the struggle bus for 15, 20 years, and they're barely keeping the lights on, right? This was pre-COVID, right? They're just constantly struggling. Okay. Coach Marguerite's specialty is running a profitable business. And I knew that when I met Coach Marguerite, I actually sat in a workshop. You remember that, Coach Marguerite?
I do.
It was one of the workshops that she held. And I walked in the room and I saw a little bit of everybody in that room. But by the time I finished that 3.5 hour, 4 hour session, I learned more in that 4 hours about how to build and run a profitable business than I had in the prior 4 years I had been in business. Okay. I knew I had a taste of what she was about. Okay. We talked about and we got real about all of the things that you want to know when you start dating somebody, right? First of all, she was like, she walked in like a boss. I was like, okay, who is that? Right. And then she backed it up, right? Because she sat down and she got all in our business, just as polite as she could be. But she got all in our business. Like a bunch of us were in there like, well, see what had happened was, and she was like, no, I got it. And I love you, but here's how we're about to roll. So that idea that you need to make sure that who you have in your tribe are people who are leveling up. And true story, no one person can do everything for you. Okay, that's a power play. No one person can do everything for you. Coach Marguerite cannot run my business for me, right? But she can come along, and Coach Marguerite is very selective about who she works with. So when I mean, we're joking about it half the time, you know, that her people have people, and that, you know, she spends her time here, but she chooses who she works with, right? You need to choose who you work with. You need to understand that that person is not going to do it for you. Coach Marguerite, come on in here.
No, I was going to say, and I think that what you're saying is so important. And I think that all of you should do that around being selective about who you work with, because in working with Karen, we're partnering. And here's what I mean by we're partnering. She is trusting me inside of her business, right? So I want, and then me and Karen are spending time together. I want to make sure that Karen is also the person who's going to show up and do her work. And she's going to be there and she's going to be engaged. So it's a partnership, both a partner in the sense of be selective who you want. Just like Karen described the bonfire. I'm going to leave Karen. Guess what? Some of that fire is going to be on me, right? So no matter if they're a client or not. And so to that point, I just wanted to point out what Karen said. They're like, that goes, it's a two-way street. Karen selects me, I select Karen, right? You all should be doing that. And about the point of, Karen, can I share with them what we took a point about? Okay, so one of the things is, yes, really selective about the one-on-one clients that I take on. But I'm so excited because I actually have, and you all are the first to hear it. I know this is live, so I guess it's not just going to be you all on the call today. But at any rate, we are launching a brand new membership, Finance Savvy CEO, which is open to the actual my ability to support more people, and it's my way of doing it outside of one-on-one. It's more in a group coaching monthly fashion. And one of the things that Karen and I talked about when we connected last week is I actually wanted to do something special that's just for your community, because I consider your community as if Karen has vetted for you all. Because I know that if you are rocking with Karen, the person that Karen is, the type of person that means that you all have to be. So we are going live with membership, opening it up, and we're doing founding membership for a limited number. But because of you all, I'm actually going to open it up to you all a week earlier than everyone else. So you all have plenty of time if it's something that you're trying to level up on your finances. And can I put, I don't know if I can chat in here, but I'll give you.
You can be able to chat. Yeah.
It is rockyourvision.finance. financesavvyceo.com. And that gives you a special way to put in there that you're interested. So, you guys can get early access before everybody else.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So this is the first time I'm hearing this, y'all. So I'm like having a little a moment over here. But y'all, seriously, we talked about doing a membership. And one of the things that Marguerite and I were talking about, we are always trying to find ways to support Coach Marguerite and to get you to her. Okay. We always have stuff going on in this community, but one of the decisions I get to make as CEO of my business is how I spend my time. And what I don't want to do is I don't want to limit your ability to have access to Coach Marguerite, because it takes time to invest in these things. Y'all, she's opening this up to Rock Your Vision a week early. This is not the time to miss it, okay? I mean, the ability to work with her one-on-one in a group coaching setting makes all the sense in the world. So we are going to, Juliet Fruman, by the way, is in the stream. I'm not sure if I shouted her out, but she's our social media marketing guru. And so we're going to be supporting that in our community. So in our private group, we're going to be just blowing that up, getting the word out, asking people to come into that opportunity, Coach Marguerite. So we will grab the link from you and then push it out when we get off this call. But thank you so much for, I think that's the other thing, is that people who are your partners, who are your people, who are your tribe, they show up, right? You don't have to ask them. They show up. They know how to keep it rolling with you to level up. Now, Pastor Andy Smith had a really good question, Coach Marguerite, as we get ready to wrap up.
Love it.
And he asked this question. You said that you work with, you help entrepreneurs to be in business, to be profitable. Can you just describe real quickly what we mean by that, right? Because being on that struggle bus is one thing.
Absolutely.
Being profitable is another. Talk about that a minute.
Yeah, and I'm going to be very blunt with you all. And I think that being straightforward is the best way to be, so there's no confusion. Okay. You will hear people who tell you, oh, well, I'm profitable if my business does good. I'm profitable if I help a lot of people. And that's awesome. And I want you all to help a lot of people. I want you to have a ton of impact. But the purpose of a business, unless you're not in business, probably you're a nonprofit, is to make a return. So when I say profitable, I am talking about financial return. And I coach on having profitability at the core of your business, because I truly believe that you are not able to have impact and help people without the financial means to really do it. Okay. So when I say profitable, I'm not talking about how much money you make. I'm talking about how much money you bring home. Because ultimately, I have seen billion-dollar businesses, million-dollar businesses bring home less than someone who is running a six-figure business, a five-figure. So we're not talking about how much you're making. How much are you bringing home of that? How much do you have left after you've spent out everything you need to make it happen? Do you have some left so that you can keep some for yourself? And then after you've already paid yourself regularly, but then you also have left so you can reinvest into your business, because you can't scale your business if you do not have profits left over that you're reinvesting, that you're putting back into the cup to go and do it again.
Right. Oh my gosh. Okay. So the difference between revenue and income, right?
You got it.
Home, like you got the big dollars and people are buying and buying. But if you're not managing your business, right, in the gap, right, if you're not aware of how many memberships you have, what your staff salaries are, what your overhead is, right, all of those things, those are the things that eat away at your ability to be profitable if you're not managing your business. And true story, I think one of our next Monday Morning Jumpstarts is going to be on habits, because true story, it wasn't in the early days, it wasn't that I wasn't making money, but my habits got me in trouble. Somebody just needed to hear that. I just set you free. You're welcome. Somebody needs to hear it's your habits, right? You can bootstrap your business, right? And not have a lot of revenue, or not a lot of revenue, but not have a lot of cash coming in, right? You're not funded by a VC, you're not doing any of those things, but your habits can eat away. So you get to the end of it and then you're still on the struggle bus, because instead of taking your profits and reinvesting them to help you operate more efficiently, you're just still on the struggle bus. But boo-boo over there that you just gave away your money to is doing just fine, because their habits were tighter than yours. And the sermon is amen, and we're going to pass the offering plate. Okay. Anywho, oh my gosh, you guys, this has been absolutely amazing. Coach Lawrence, I need you to just kind of unpack it for us for a minute while we just kind of bring it to a close.
Well, what had happened was, for the past 165 minutes was y'all just got game on your Monday morning, and you should have your business jump started. So, so those of you who are here live but are going to hashtag replay, you're welcome. And that's all. That's the recap for you, because there's too much. Like Coach Marguerite, like I'm telling you, just the fact, again, access meets understanding, meets action and work to assess what's working for you, what you want your superpower to be or operate in that, and what's not. Because again, partnering versus partnership, people spend decades on that. I mean, people have entire staffs of people that don't like each other that should cut ties years ago. But it's because they're in agreements that they can't get out of. It's the fine print. It's the stuff that is in ink, that has you bound, if you will. And those are the types of things that if you learn it early, don't be afraid of it. Entrepreneurship, again, is not for the faint of heart. It really, I believe that's a thing, because it's so relational. And I don't believe people understand that going into it. And that's one of the biggest things that I've come to understand, particularly around being profitable, is I want to staff, but I got to scale at some point. And I know I hated everything about the word scale and niche, and all these other things that I just didn't know. So I was afraid. It was fear. I didn't understand it. So I didn't unpack it. And so now that you did it so eloquently, and everybody in this community ain't scared of nothing. They got thick skin. Give it to them blunt. Every single time, hit them with a hat. Just give it to them. But thank you so much for this. This was amazing.
Oh, thank you. This was amazing. And Coach Lawrence, I mean, literally, you have so much wisdom in what you are doing, and it is such a blessing for you to be able to share that with the students over at Morehouse. They are in for such a treat.
Right. Oh my gosh. Look, when I started working with Coach Marguerite, I was terrified. I knew I needed to do it, and I knew she was the coach for me. But she will tell you, in several of those sessions, I was doing the boohoo, because I was afraid and I was ashamed. Right? In my family, in my nuclear family growing up, there was a lot of shame where money was concerned. There was a lot of fear. Right? My parents lived through the Depression. Right? My father worked in the cotton fields. My mother, she and her entire family lived in one house in Charleston, West Virginia. And they came up out of that, but there was a lot of fear around money, right? The generational impact. Now, I'm not saying this is for everybody, but for those of you who came up and you didn't have a lot, or maybe you didn't have entrepreneurs in your family, or maybe you had entrepreneurs and they were always on the struggle bus. Let your legacy, let part of your legacy be that you do it different. Okay? That's what I wanted my legacy to be. I wanted to keep my promise to my family that I could run a business and run a profitable business and then exit a profitable business to go on to do something else. That's my legacy. That's what I wanted my legacy to be. But here's what I'm going to say to you. Some of you are saying, I can't afford a business coach. Here's what I'm going to say to you. You can't afford to not have a business coach. Unless you are independently wealthy, or you yourself are a finance expert and you know how to do all the things, you cannot afford to not invest in yourself when it comes to giving somebody else an opportunity, somebody else who you've already vetted them. Okay, Coach Marguerite said it. She's here. She's proven it. She's proven it to me in my own business, and several others of you have worked with. You can't afford to have somebody else look at your mess. Okay, whatever it is, because if you want to do something bigger than yourself, you need the lens of somebody who will be a good steward of your vision. I'm just going to leave it right there because that is good all by itself. Okay. Have y'all had fun today? Okay, this was so good. Coach Marguerite, I don't have enough words to tell you how much we appreciate you. I'm going to put my money where my mouth is. You know, we talked about doing a membership we're still doing that, but we are going to redirect part of our energy to be a funnel into Coach Marguerite's membership. That's how serious I am about supporting Coach Marguerite, but more importantly, giving all of you access to the things that can really level up your ability to have a profitable business. You do not have to be on the struggle bus forever, because here's the reality. Come on in here. I'm going to need you to listen in. You've got options, boo. You've got options. Okay, I'm just saying. Coach Marguerite, leave us with one quick thing just as you go, and then let us know where we can find you, and mention that link one more time for this community to have access to that amazing offer.
Yes. Well, Karen, you know, it is always, always beyond a pleasure to be able to connect with you and connect with your community. You have a fabulous community here that you've always so engaged, always such a pleasure. If I could leave you all with one thing for today, it would be to understand where your blind spots are first before you even start searching for a partner. Okay. That one thing first will save you a lot of time. And then you can find me on Facebook, Instagram, and just my name, Marguerite Preston Davis. And then the link where you can raise your hand to say, like, I'm interested in potentially being a part of that early access would be rockyourvision.financesavvyceo.com.
Got it. Sarah's going to capture that and pop it in the comments. Thank you so much. And listen, just for showing up, you know, for trusting yourself, for doing the hard work. We know, you know, as amazing as you are, that you have moments too, right? I absolutely love that transparency and vulnerability. It's encouraging for those of us who are out there trying to do it as well. You have some very, very big shoes to fill. So we're honored to have you. Coach Lawrence.
Hey. Yeah. So
I love you so much. I'm so grateful for you.
Yes, right back at you. And so I'll tell people's last thing in a story form. Be the kind of friend and potential partner to somebody who leads through your values, and communicate them clearly is what I got out of today. And that comes from my interaction with Karen early on in 2020. And it was a conversation I didn't know I needed at the time that manifests into why I'm standing here right now. And had I took myself out the game because somebody was speaking in truth to me, I wouldn't be standing here. So I appreciate you, Aaron, for honoring yourself and your business. And now I know where it's coming from with the juggernauts that you run with. So I want to say thank you. So to everyone, y'all know where to find me. Find me all across social media, Boss Lab, BOSSLLAB, LinkedIn, full government name, Lawrence E. Henderson Jr., and catch Hot Takes, which is an hour earlier now on live on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube. But then here's the thing. I'm booked all the way out to June, Karen, with the podcast. So what it did was it left me an opportunity to do spin something else up called Boss and Friends. So I wanna create another opportunity for the community and those who are friends and family to come hang out with me on Boss and Friends, and we're doing everything live. So I'm sharing my live on LinkedIn is everybody's live. So that's not my live. I got access, but it's everybody's live. So you want to come hang out with me, boss and friends? Let's make some magic happen.
All right, and we can find that on LinkedIn at 11 a.m. Eastern time. Is that right?
That sure is.
All right, LinkedIn, boss and friends. Y'all look up Coach Lawrence E. Henderson on LinkedIn. We want to support that effort. We want to share it in our LinkedIn networks because, as you can see, he brings it straight, no chaser. But there's something, we call it the anointing in our world, but there's something going on with him that you need to catch a hold of. Listen, here's the bottom line, y'all. You have options when it comes to building your vision and living your vision. You have options. Coach Marguerite Presley Davis has honored us by sharing some of what people pay her the real dollars for. Okay, I'm living proof of that, and she's worth every penny, and so are you. Invest in yourself. Reach out to Marguerite Presley Davis. Jump in the membership. You have no excuse. We're going to be letting it go and blowing it up and sharing it everywhere in this community. But do not wait. You have 1 week. So make sure you get in there. I want to say, have an amazing day. Have an amazing week. You've got your Jumpstart. Coach John Kowaleski is going to be jumping in with you today, Coach Lawrence. So we've already got that going. Coach Marguerite, you hold on. Coach Lawrence, you hold on. We're going to wrap it up in the debrief afterwards, post-show debrief. But everybody else, have an amazing week. Remember, you've got options. I'll see you soon.